everybody. Happy GenCon week. You're here with the Board Game Mechanics. As always, I am Joel, and with me is...
Hey guys, what's going on? It's Jason.
Hey, Jason. I think we're both GenCanting. I was going to go down to the con one day, and I might still, but man, I'm really busy with work junk. I think I was going to say stuff, and then junk came out, so it stunk. Work stunk.
Yeah, I'm playing at another camp, so I can't go either. But I couldn't really justify the $80 for one day, plus parking, plus maybe having somewhere to stay. Yeah, I don't know. It was a lot of money for one day.
Well, we'll talk maybe more about this in news, but yeah, we'll just talk more about it in news.
All right, so let's get into the news, and we're going to start off with a nice, amazing game. Well, I don't know if the game's amazing, but the theme is amazing. It's a cartoon from my childhood, and it is called Wacky Races, and that is coming out from CMON. It'll be hitting Kickstarter later this year.
Can I tell you about this real quick?
Yeah, go for it.
I don't know anything about the game, and I've never liked a racing game, so this one has every chance to be the first one I ever like. Because honestly, I mean, like, I don't know. I've never liked a racing game, and I hope this one is good. But this is a similar story. I like Wacky Races a lot too. And so I was kind of craving watching some Wacky Races a few weeks ago. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to order the DVD box set because it's pretty cheap.
I saw that. It was awesome.
And I got it. And it's the 2017 series. I was so disappointed. It's not bad, but it's not the original.
That stinks.
Yeah.
It looked the same. That's tricky, those jerks.
Yeah, I know. Well, and then if you get Boomerang now, you can watch like all the old episodes, but it's the only thing on Boomerang that's any good. And it's a sub of like $40 a year.
Well, let's not go that far. I mean, there is the racially insensitive Amazing Chan and the Chan Clan. I mean, that show's pretty awesome.
I don't know that one at all.
It's essentially Scooby-Doo, but everybody's Asian. And like stereotypical, like terrible drawn cartoon Asian. It's horrible.
Well, and then the I don't know, the censored 11. I don't know if you know about that, but there's 11 Merry Melodies cartoons that Warner Brothers will not allow to be aired anymore because they're just rough.
Right.
And they are.
That's crazy.
YouTube. Anyway, yeah, Wacky Races looks pretty cool. Did you look at the gameplay at all? Do you know anything about that?
I read what CMON posted. Essentially, everyone's playing a card, like a terrain card of where they want to go in the race. And they're also trying to throw traps on Dick Dastardly, who's like the AI that the game is trying to play. So you're racing against everybody else, and Dick Dastardly is the AI of the game trying to get in your way. So it seemed kind of cool. I mean, it said it was a really light family weight game, which is interesting for CMON. So we'll see. Well,
and like racing mechanics, you can only take to such like levels of complication. So, I mean, Formula D does it about as heavy as I think you're going to do it with the gear shifts and the repairs and whatever.
That's
I mean,
true.
I don't know. I just like even that one, which is the most classic racing game. I didn't really get into it that much because there always is a lot of luck involved. And then Jamaica, I know certain people love that game. I never got into it. I just didn't think it was good.
Yeah, I liked it for like the first 4 or 5 times. Then I was like, this is kind of boring.
I wonder, with it being a cartoon and a family weight game and being, like a lot of fun for the kids, I wonder if they put miniatures in there because that'd be really neat if they put miniatures in there, like almost like little toys for the kids to play with.
It does have miniatures of the cars and all the people.
From Cool Mini or not, they're putting miniatures in. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah, big shock, I know.
And I wonder if this one's going to be a Kickstarter because I know they're moving away from it.
Yeah, I think they said August or October or something of this year.
For Kickstarter or not Kickstarter?
Kickstarter.
Is Gizmos going to be a Kickstarter too, or did that one just sneak out?
Yeah, I think that one's already out. I think that's releasing officially at GenCon.
Yeah. So I know a few of their games that are definitely moving away from Kickstarter, but stuff that might be a little more wacky and off the wall, like Wacky Races, they might be doing Kickstarter still, I'm guessing, just because they don't know,
Right, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so the next game is a game that we've given a wrench rating to, and that is the 10th anniversary edition of Pandemic. So this is essentially Pandemic, but it has a metal box. I know people love metal boxes. And it has wooden bits, because I guess the original, first edition had wooden cubes or whatever.
Yeah.
And it has minis for your characters instead of the little, colored pawn. And it has new graphic design on the cards and such.
I think I just sold my first edition of Pandemic. Everything was just bigger in it. Like the cubes were bigger and they were wooden, and the petri dishes were big. Yeah, pretty cool. I don't like this game, but it's cool that it's getting a 10th anniversary edition. It's not cool they're putting it in a metal box. Now every Matt Leacock game can come in a metal box, I think.
Right, yeah. Forbidden Sky is in a metal box too, I think.
Is it?
Oh yeah, that's releasing at GenCon too. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Another Pandemic.
Yep.
I haven't looked at it at all, but I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it looks like it. I looked it up. All right, and the next game I have is a reprint from an old Z-Man game, I believe, and that's Arboretum, and Renegade is picking that up and going to do the reprint. And the pictures of it are really pretty. I think the art is beautiful. It's much better than the old version for sure.
Well, and then there's a deluxe edition coming out. That's like kind of the news that happened last week, I think, that there's like the $20 version you can get and then the $35 that comes in a wooden box, which is funny for a game about trees.
Yeah, that is pretty funny. I think I just looked at the original one. I didn't look at the deluxe one because it's a card game. Why you need a deluxe card game? Right.
Because honestly, every card game I get, I'll have to do a video of this sometime. I'm running out of time for videos this summer, but I want to get at least 2 up maybe 3 this week. So I'm going to get up. If you're listening to this on Friday, maybe look at the YouTube channel and see if there's a ton of videos. Hopefully I did those, maybe not. But anyway, one of them I want to do at some point is my photo bins that go in this like suitcase thing. It's so good for storing small games in it. I think I've brought it to board game mechanic cons, BGM cons before too. But it's cool because you can store like 40-ish games in like slightly bigger than a regular size board game box. Every time I get a card game, I just toss one in there, and the plastic bins protect the games better than a cardboard box. So
that's true.
I don't know. I like that a lot. But if I get Arboretum again, which is a big if I can get it on a big sale for $9, I would probably get it. But I don't know that I would pay $20. I would throw it in a plastic bin, so I wouldn't care about that wooden box anyway.
Right? Yeah. All right, the last game I wanted to talk about is on Kickstarter now. I think it has like 20-some days left. And it's called Atlantis, Island of the Gods, and it's by Red Imp Games. And I only wanted to talk about this because there's not really a ton of games that have the Atlantis theme, which is kind of weird because people have been fascinated with Atlantis forever. So I just figured they'd plaster that theme on everything they could.
Yeah, Atlantis Rising was the one that I thought looked cool, but I don't know that it has anything to do with Atlantis hardly. So
Yeah. This Atlantis game, I think you're building temples to the gods, and you can build the temples, like all the pieces can interconnect in different ways to make different shaped temples for different people. I don't know if it necessarily matters, but you're just trying to be the person who has the biggest like kingdom in Atlantis or whatever they're calling it, province. And it's just, I think it's like a medium weight game, and it's like $29, which is kind of cool. So I figured since it was cheap and looked kind of interesting, I would talk about it.
I just want to spitball a little bit about what's coming out at GenCon. So half the reason why I'm not going to GenCon is my personal life is pretty busy around then. Like I have all summer off, and then my school corporation's like, hey, you got to come in when GenCon starts. So that's kind of a bummer. But I'm looking at the hotness stuff for GenCon, and nothing on there. I'm like, oh, wow, I got to get a chance to grab that before it's going to be out in retail in a month and a half, you know? I mean, nothing on this list does that for me. Root might be cool, but I passed on the Kickstarter on it already, you know? So
yeah, Root seems cool, but it's more take that than Vast, and I think Vast is kind of take that-y. So yeah, I passed that one over.
And then Coimbra is available. It was available at Origins too, in limited, availability. But you pre-ordered that on Cool Stuff, right?
Yeah, for $25 less than at a con.
Yeah. I mean, so. Oh, and then by the way, I'm a bad friend because I just saw this. It was a post that was a couple days old and it already expired. Lisboa was deal of the day on Card House for $55. No, $52.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are the worst.
So we missed that one. Sorry. I mean, like, honestly, Dinosaur Island I have coming to me in a month and a half or 2 months in a deluxe edition. Yep. Endeavor was it's still just a demo. I mean, Fireball Island's still in the demo stage. Museum's still demo stage. If Museum was coming out for sale, I'd be like, oh, that looks cool. I might grab that. But
that game's awesome.
I mean, man, Gizmos is for sale. They had demos of that at Origins. It was cool, but it's nothing that I'm like, I've got to have that now. I don't know. I don't know if I've just seen enough stuff in the world of board games that it takes a lot to get my attention now, or if it's not an impressive year so far. And 2017 was a great year. It's going to be hard to follow that up, but I guess at some point it had to happen where games just weren't going to appeal to me in one year. So
yeah, I think if we wait between GenCon and Essen, that's where all the stuff's going to start popping out, all the good stuff. Yeah.
If you give me $100 and say spend it at GenCon on games, I'm getting Coimbra probably, and I'm probably going to get Reef. And both those games you can pretty readily get online. I mean, like they sell out. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I don't know. So that's another part of it. I mean, I could go in on, like now and really work a long day and stuff and try and figure out things in advance to get down to the con. But I don't know. The other thing too is I've done Gen Con a few times and then I did Origins this year. And all right, Jason, pat yourself on the back. I think Origins, I'm ready to admit, might be the better con for me, at least. I hate crowds. I hate being treated like cattle. And I mean, like,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, it just feels like when you're in the con when you're in the expo halls in Indy, it's so big. It's just huge. There's, 2-3 times as much stuff there, but there's 4 or 5 times more people there. And you're just like shoulder to shoulder the whole time, it feels like. And like, if you want to start looking for like certain games to pick up at Cool Stuff's, booth or whatever, you've got to be like kind of a jerk and push people around and stuff. And I mean, that's my experience. I know people other than that have different experiences, but I don't know. It's not for me really. I mean, and then I don't know. I have a good gaming group here too. So I guess I'm lucky that I don't need a con to have a good group of people to play games with. And actually my favorite board gaming are the BGM cons, which I mean, I could see those growing. I can see some more local people tagging rides and going to our BGM cons, which to me is as much fun as any real con. So
agreed. Yeah. Cause that's what I want to do at a con is play games. Really. I don't want to buy things a ton. I want to demo the hotness and just play games with friends. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I mean, like now we're in the age of YouTube and Rodney Smith has a how to play the game. The first day it's even announced anymore, it practically feels like. So, I mean, you get a real good idea of the games without going to cons. So, I don't know. I'm not trying to say don't go to cons because they're a really great experience and they're really fun. And it's a great experience. It's a blast. And if you're going to be at Gen Con, I guarantee you're going to have a good time and have a lot of fun there. But I mean, I think this would be my 5th one and 5th or 6th. And I'm not sure that I really want to do that, So anyway, Origins was such a good experience too for me that it kind of soured Gen Con for me.
Yeah, I've never gone to Gen Con, but the crowd's like 4 times what it is at Origins. And that right there turns me off. And I like that at Origins, like we walked right up to Museum and played a whole entire game of it. Didn't have to wait in line. It was like Saturday. Walked right up, played the game, left, walked right up to another game, played it. It was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, you can play a ton of games at Gen Con for sure. And the other thing too is if you're a first-year person at Gen Con, okay, so here's the deal. I'm going to give you guys a couple pro tips for Gen Con. One, all your standard stuff. Take care of your hygiene because I didn't smell the stink at Origins too bad, but you will smell it at Gen Con. Like there's going to be a few folks that just smell. And you ruin it for everybody. Like you make that stereotype perpetuate and it just smells bad and it's icky. So that's one.
Yeah.
Sleep and drink water. And if you want to drink other stuff, that's fine, but just understand it's going to impede your gaming the next day.
Right. Yep.
But then the other piece too is the thing that's different about Gen Con than other cons I've been to is it's kind of spread out. So there's like the Marriott that has some stuff in it, and there's the main expo halls that have stuff in it, and then there's rooms all throughout the convention center. So like Rio Grande has a game that's away from everybody else, or has a room that's away from everybody else. I mean, I know like Indie Boards and Cards, even like little companies like that have had their own demo rooms before, and so just go look for those other demo rooms. And a lot of times it looks like you'd think you'd have to have a ticket to go in there, a generic or something to go in there, but a lot of the times you don't have to. If it's a company's room, generally you don't need tickets. You just go in and play. And so that's a really good chance to get out of that crowd and take a break from that is to get a play in those rooms. And that feels more like you're playing at like board game group at a library or in a church or something. Because there's maybe 50 people in there at, 10 to 15 tables and people showing you how to play the game. So that's a really cool thing about Gen Con that you will find. The other thing too, this is a huge pro tip for you. If you wait until Sunday, nobody wants to bring the games back with them. So you're going to get a better deal. So there's some people who sell in particular Rio Grande games, they liquidate them. If you just make absurd offers to them the last day, they're gonna think really hard about if they don't want to take your offer, because shipping that back is going to cost them money, or they can make money off you selling that game. So don't be afraid to lowball a little bit the last day, I think. So and then I don't know, they weren't at Origins. I don't know if they've stopped doing this now, but I always remember going to Cool Stuff. They always hold back some dings and dents for cons, and so they've got a huge rack of dings and dents. And I remember when Kemet came out, I got Kemet for $25 the year it came out. So you can find pretty good deals on dings and dents at the Cool Stuff booth. So those are a few of my little tips. Now that it's Friday morning and Gen Con's been going for 2 days, if you're listening to this, those are my tips. But yeah, I'm sure you had fun. I'm sure you're having fun if you're there. And I'm not judging anybody for going. I'm not going to do it this year, I don't think.
Yeah, I thought about it, but I ultimately had some other life stuff come up. So
right.
Yep.
I think you should go sometime, Jason. But I mean, if it's going to make life crammed for you or complicated, it's not worth it.
Yeah. That was my thoughts as well.
That's how all of life is. I think this is our hobby. We've got to make sure we, keep life in balance. And we should probably do that as a topic sometime on the show, that we need to, spend time stimulating our brains other ways and spending time with people, not just playing board games. And I know it's hard sometimes. I get really stuck in a rut where I get obsessed about just playing board games all the time, and it makes me not a great person sometimes. So anyway. Yeah,
I'm with you. Yeah, somebody did suggest that when I asked for comments on what the show should be about this week.
Yeah. I think my wife said, do it on Board Game Widows.
Yeah, she did say that. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Well, anyway, I didn't have anything for news really, Jason. I just had a weird rant to go on, I guess.
All right, so now let's get to the stuff that everybody wants to hear us talk about. And well, maybe they don't, but this is the stuff I like to talk about. And we're going to talk about stuff that we played recently. I don't know if it's been in the last week or not, but yeah, recently. So the first game I played actually is a fairly new game called The Masque of the Red Death. I don't know if you've heard of this or know anything about this.
I know nothing about it.
All right, so essentially what this game is, everyone's a character from the Edgar Allan Poe story, Masque of the Red Death. And you're moving around this building that has 6 or 7 rooms. And there's a pile of cards in this deck that have a color and a time. You're trying to figure out when the mask or when the Red Death is going to hit at midnight, 12:10, 12:30, 12:40, and 12:50. What 2 rooms he's going to hit. Because if you're in those rooms at those times, you're going to die. So you're trying to deduce what the 2 cards in each of those time slots are, so you're not in those rooms in one of his movements. And you're going to do it over, I think, 16 rounds. That's all you play. You play 16 rounds. You play 1 card each round, and you have to figure out as much as you can by playing 16 cards.
Wow.
It's super fun. It's intense. Because once it hits midnight, because you have to pre-program everything before it gets to midnight. So once it hits midnight, whatever your programming is, whether you're going to move to the room to your right, to the room to your left, or you're going to stay in the same room, you have to do that before the clock hits midnight. So it's tricky, it's tense, and when we played it, every single one of us died.
Really?
So the Red Death won, yeah.
Well, that's crazy. It sounds interesting. These kind of, I don't know, I guess hidden roll or kind of read the room kind of games are growing up. And every one of them seems like it's adding a new kind of cool mechanic onto it. So pretty cool.
Yeah, this one actually kind of feels like the card mechanisms in Mystery of the Abbey. You know how you're passing around cards and you're looking at all the cards from other people? It's like that, but you can't write anything down. So you have to remember everything that you've seen.
Huh.
That's the hard part.
That does seem... I have a terrible memory, so I'd be really bad at this game.
Yeah.
I
saw a card... I saw a card the first round, and then I forgot what it was by round 3.
Can I pull my phone out and take a picture to have a record of what I've seen? That's the only way I have a chance at this game. Well, cool.
Yeah, that's what we decided. We were just going to try writing it down next time to see if it's still bloody hard.
Gut impressions. What do you give this game range wise?
Oh, it's good. I mean, it's probably the best game like that I've played, and it doesn't outstay its welcome. It's like an hour, so I'd probably give this a 4.5. It's good.
Wow, that's good. Cool, and it doesn't have any worker placement in it, which is really good for you to give it a 4.5.
Yeah, it's literally just playing a card and moving your guy around to make sure that you're gonna know as much about what's going to happen at midnight. That's it, but it's super fun.
Well, speaking of not overstaying its welcome, I got to play Ticket to Ride New York.
Nice.
Yeah, not a bad little game. Played it with just my wife. They actually, it might be done by now, but they had a preview code where you could get 10% off of board game orders at Target.
Oh, yeah.
So I went ahead and picked this up. They had a copy left in my local store, so I was able to get it there, like local pickup. But it's exactly Ticket to Ride. The only thing that makes it a little bit more strategic or different there are just certain like scenic stops that you can get extra like tips or a little bit of like extra points from. So if you're connecting a bunch of these little like scenic places or tourist attractions, I guess they call them, you get additional points. So it's the way how they kind of, how every Ticket to Ride has their like kind of gimmick on, like Germany / Markland has the passenger who rides, and they've got the tunnels in Europe, and they've got, like Rails and Sails has the boats. Well, this one's just got these. Everyone kind of has the same route you're all kind of going for because you're trying to connect these little scenic places, but the game plays so quick. So I think you probably have literally half of the amount of taxi cabs as you get trains in the regular game. So it just goes really quick. And the routes are always like 3 to 8 cars long. So every route is 3, 4, 1, 2, 3s and 4s. It seems like with very few 3s and 4s, a lot of 1s and 2s on the board. So you got to quickly, establish what routes you're going to take, what routes you're going to take. And it's super quick. I think we played a 2-player game in about 20 minutes, and it was over as quick as we started, and it just feels enough different. It's familiar for sure, but it has a change up in the gameplay to keep it a little bit fresh, that you can't hoard your cards and save them to the end because the game gets over too quick. And there's so many little like one train or one car, I guess, routes now that you can't just set on them. And they're so important. You have to be so efficient on your routes. So it changes up the gameplay enough that it makes it kind of fun and cool. And it's in a small box. It's a little like almost the size of like Age of Wonders or a Seven Wonders Duel box. So cool little game, cheap too. I think we got it for $18. So pretty cool little entry level Ticket to Ride kind of game with a different layer to it, and plays real quick and like a filler type kind of amount of time.
So it's lighter than regular Ticket to Ride?
No, I wouldn't say it's lighter than Ticket to Ride. I mean, it's
okay. All right.
No, it's hard to be lighter than Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, I was going to say, man, that is really light. It's
all the mechanics of Ticket to Ride, then adding that tourist attractions thing where everyone's trying to connect into the same cities or actually stops. So it adds a little bit to it. It's not heavier than Markland for sure. It's probably on par with Europe, but just plays so quick.
Yeah, it seems cool. I like that it's taxis instead of trains. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it is fun. The cards kind of confuse my wife because, I'm not trying to make fun of my wife, but like the green cards have a green background that is solid green, and then it has like bus, the silver bus with blue windows in it. And she's like, "What color is this one?" And
that is weird.
She was looking at the bus, and I was like, "I think it's green, given the green background." And she's like, "Are you sure?"
Yeah.
And like, yeah, it is because the symbols matched up and stuff. But it's a little weird in the graphic design. But yeah, not a bad game.
That's
and
weird.
it's exclusive to Target too, I believe. So look for it there, I guess.
That's cool. Target's getting in on the games, man.
They are.
All right. So the next game I played is kind of an old game. I don't even know how old, but it's at least a couple years old. And that is Parfum or Perfume.
Oh, man. A bargain game to be bought sometimes too.
Oh, yeah. I love this game. Katie hates this game, but there's something about just rolling those dice and trying to make perfume. It's kind of fulfilling, I guess. Have you played this?
No. I've looked at it for $7 prime ship to my house several times, but the reviews on it are so bad that I've just never played it. I think you're the only person I know that likes it.
Yeah, it gets bad rap. It's essentially rolling dice and collecting sets to fulfill contracts. That's all stuff I like. I like rolling some dice. I like collecting sets, and I like fulfilling contracts. So there's not much to the game. It has like the fresco mechanism where you're picking what time you want to wake up to determine how many actions you get and when you're going to take your turn. So if you wake up early, you get less turns. If you sleep in, you go last, but you get more actions. So, I mean, I like it. I don't know what people's beef is with it. Maybe it's just too simple or too random or something. I don't know.
To me, my theory about it is the artwork and the company that put it out, you expect them to do worker placement Euro type games all the time.
Right, yeah.
And for them to have a game where you just scatter a bunch of dice on the ground or dice on the table and then kind of try and pick and choose to figure out how you're going to fulfill contracts feels like mechanically it doesn't match the look of the game almost. Like if Yellow would have made this game, it probably would have been a really huge hit and they would have had a cooler theme on it too. But I mean, like,
yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
I don't know. That's my theory. Just based on when you were talking about it. I've never played it.
It's worth playing once. It's fun. It only takes like 40 minutes. It doesn't take forever either. So, I mean, it would be worth trying to see if you like it. It might be too simple. It's pretty simple, but sometimes it's nice to play a little simple game that's just fun. So
I'm going to go ahead and retroactively say this. I'm going to give Ticket to Ride New York 3.5 inches. We can do half inches on this one, okay? So 3.5, but maybe pushing 4. It was good. It was really good. What do you think about Parfum?
It's probably 2.5. I mean, it's not a groundbreaking game, but I still enjoy playing it.
Yeah, and it's good that you sometimes talk about games that are new and interesting to our audience, even if you don't love them that much.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really play this week either, but I played it a couple weeks ago, and I just thought, man, this game never gets love, so I'm gonna talk about it.
Did this get taken to camp? Is that when you played this?
No, I played it before camp, like the day or two before camp. So it kind of blended into the gaming marathon that I had at camp. But yeah.
I kind of had a theory about that you were like, this game's only $7. If it gets destroyed in a campfire, I don't care.
No, I actually took dice boards to camp and played it a couple times, which was scary with all those little dice pieces. But
yeah, I'll bet you were wishing that you had those rattle bones, impossible to pull out pieces in that one.
Yeah.
Well, my last game, Jason, is one of the meanest games I've ever played. Just a nasty, nasty, mean game. So mean. Just like it felt bad to play this game because I just clobbered my son at it. And that game is Disney's Villainous. So,
oh, you got to play that? That's awesome. I actually wanted to play this. Yeah.
Yeah, I picked up a copy. They had it at our Target. So I got the last copy of that as well. For how cheap this game is, again, 10% off. There's a ton in that box. And it's actually a pretty fun game. I'm not going to lie. It's a villain. And you're all playing as a villain and you have an objective that stays fixed the whole time that you're playing the game. So, Prince John wants to have 20 power. He just wants to be rich. And Jafar wants to control the genie. And, let's think here. The queen from Alice in Wonderland, the Queen of Hearts, I think, she wants to make a wicket and so there's a certain mechanic to do that. So everybody has totally different objectives they're trying to do, and they have a totally different deck of cards they're trying to go through to try and figure out how to make this happen. And then you also have a secondary deck of cards that other people flip over for you, and they cause you harm. They cause you problems that you have to overcome. And it's pretty neat. That mechanic is simple, but it's so unique that everybody has their own unique deck of cards. Everything just plays differently all the time. Every player count feels way different. This game kind of feels bad at 2 players because you just go back and forth. Whereas when some person's like running away with it, you can't exactly hammer somebody back to back to back times on getting these bad fate cards, but you can every other time hammer that person, kind of give other people a break so that way you guys can catch up. But it's just a cool game, really cool game. And this is it's by Wonderforge, which they've made great games like Pictutopia and Pretend Clue. And I don't know, I can't really think of any great Wonderforge games, but they make this game now. And the only complaint I have about it is this game and then several other big box type games. They make these games where it's like, instead of shrink wrapping the game, they put these stickers on the bottom of them. And I hate it because when you go to cut them or break the stickers, you end up tearing your box a little bit. So I don't know. It's just, it's just a bad deal. But other than that, it's great.
Isn't the designer of this game the same designer that did Bob Ross?
It might be. I know it's the person who did Battle of Hogwarts, or something like that. It's actually it's a pen name for
Prospero Hall or something.
Yeah,
Is that him?
Yeah, I don't think it's a person. I think it's like a design corporation.
Oh, I got.
But I think they did actually do Bob Ross, and they did a Harry Potter game, like the Battle of Hogwarts or something like that. But I think they did that under a different name. They also did the Choose Your Own Adventure House of Danger game, which is another one that's pretty hot coming out.
That's cool.
So they're kind of hitting gold here a little bit, and I think these are all kind of Target exclusives too. So, so good for them, I guess. But man, this game's fun. It's cool, and the theme adds to it. I mean, for sure. The components are pretty cool. The artwork on it is great. The artwork. So this is how I'm going to pay this game some pretty high compliments. The artwork on the game it reminded me a ton of Grim Forest, and the artwork on Grim Forest is so good. I mean, like, you know that. And
yeah, that's Mr. Cuddington. They're awesome.
And then so the artwork and design on this looks very similar to Grim Forest. I mean, just very similar. The color palette and everything. And then the gameplay is just at times it reminds me of Magic the Gathering. At times it reminds me of Scythe, because you had these like choices in front of you of like spots that you have to go to, and then there's actions related to those. It's a good game. A really good game.
Wow. That's crazy. I wasn't expecting it to be like that good, actually. I just thought it was going to be generic.
Jason, listen, man. 4.5 inches plus right now is what I'm giving this game. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, and its average rating right now, if you look it up on Board Game Geek, it doesn't come up with a rating because it only has like, I think 15 ratings, but the ratings exceed 9. So they don't like have it up there. Like it's like rating is like 9 point something. So
that's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, I've yet to hear somebody say, the game's kind of bad in this regard. Like, I don't, the other thing too is that big word Disney on the front will keep the like war gamers away. Right. It would be like, this game clearly has balance issues when you play the Jafar Abu combination. It clearly breaks the game. I mean, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good though for a big box game. Really good actually. So, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now, I feel like this is going to be one that it might be like Gamer Monopoly where it sells out pretty quick and it's kind of hard to find. Like I honestly can see that. So I don't think they were expecting much out of it, and it's a really good game.
Yeah. I mean, I've been looking at it, wanting to pick it up. I saw some people complaining that Target had it out on the shelves before the actual release date and they wouldn't let them buy it. So that was pretty funny.
What? That's so weird.
Yeah. They put it out like 3 days before the official release date, and then they took it to the counter and they said they couldn't sell it yet.
I wonder if I have it early. I don't know. I got it on Saturday.
Yeah, that was the release date.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to put a video up of this. So if you're hearing this right now, I will definitely get a video up of this one this week. And the other one I'm going to definitely get up this week is Iron Rise. I will get a video of that up. That's one that we were given a promotional consideration for. Don't know much about it yet. I just know that it looks like a flying frog game because it has like photos of people as the art.
Nice.
So...
That's awesome.
I think I hear my dog barking in the background. Woof. Anyway, yeah, I don't like that. But I mean, it's a cheap way to do art, I guess. Just go get some costumes and take pictures. But
right, yep.
And I mean, if I were going to make a board game and just getting started off, I can't say I wouldn't do it. So I don't know. But I'll have a review of that up. It is actually pretty cool. It's going to be on Kickstarter, I think, later this year. And the one I have is a really awesome prototype. Like, they went to great lengths to get a good prototype together for me to play. So I owe them a very thorough review, and I will have that up this week as well. Jason, I'm not sure Zany totally returned this week, but I think we're having a little more fun than we had last week. It's interview season right now again. So we have another interview this week. We were back with the Zany a little this week. I think even more next week. But Jason, you had a chance to do an interview. I guess without saying anything else, I'll let you get right to it.
Hey guys, it's Jason, and I'm here with Evan Donahoe from the Pandemonium Institute, and he's going to talk about a new game that he has coming out called Blood on the Clocktower. Hey Evan, how's it going?
It's doing all right. How are you doing?
Not too bad. It's a good day for an interview because it's rainy and you know how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm lucky I got out to the Ohio State Fair last night instead of tonight.
Oh yeah, that is nice for sure. All right, so before we get started, let's talk about how you got into gaming a little bit, just so we can get a little background on you and what you like about gaming, what caused you to start your own company and all that. So just go ahead and tell us a little bit about that if you would.
Well, personally, the way I got into gaming is through running a board games festival out of my house. So I have a previous life as a stand-up comedian. And in 2013, I was doing a show for the Melbourne Comedy Festival and working so hard at that I had no time to do anything fun. And I just thought to myself, when this thing is over, I'm not just going to have a games night. I'm going to have a whole week of games. I'm going to run a festival out of my house. Yeah.
Right.
And all my friends are like, Evan, you're insane. Why didn't you start with a weekend and then we'll see how we go? And I'm like, fine, I'll do a weekend and you'll see that a week is what we need. And then at the end of 3 days of gaming, we were just all nearly dead.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. But it became my favorite thing to do, just to go full maximum. We opened the house up for the whole 3 days. We set up about 8 or 9 tables, just put a public event up on Facebook, nothing fancy. And whoever wants to turn up and play games can. And from doing this, I ended up meeting a whole lot of people in the gaming industry, people who love playing games, people who love designing and creating games, including Steven, the designer of Blood on the Clocktower. Ended up coming to the second one of these that I ran, the second Salisbury Festival of Board Games, and had at that night the early version of Blood on the Clocktower where we played it the very first time. So I guess I got into gaming much like I get into anything else. My favorite thing is meeting people and having fun with my friends and socializing. So I enjoy those activities that help facilitate that, and gaming is one of those things. So yeah, it's a sociable and fun thing that's fun to do with people. So that's why I'm here.
So did Steven, what's Steven's last name?
Steven Medway.
Did he come to your gaming group all the time or just occasionally?
Well, no, actually at this, the second Salisbury Festival of Board Games was the night that I met him. So we both lived in Sydney. We had a mutual friend who invited him along to this gaming festival. We ended up playing, I think the first game we played together was Cluster, which is from the Cards Against Humanity guys.
Right.
And then we went into a game of Last Night on Earth where he played all the zombies against me and 3 other friends playing against the humans. And then he was like, hey, can I've got this, at the time, werewolf variant that I want to try running. You reckon you could wrangle up some people who might want to play that? So we actually only met that night, and it was through playing this game that eventually became Blood on the Clocktower that we became friends, yeah.
That's cool. And so you just decided to, after you did your little, what'd you say, Melbourne? Is that where you said it was?
Sydney. So in
Sydney, yeah. So after you did your little weekend, you decided to just create the Pandemonium Institute, or how'd that come about?
Well, basically, Blood on the Clocktower was a thing that we enjoyed playing, quote, Steven's Werewolf at the time so much that we just kept inviting him back to do it. My friends and I were like, hey, let's get that Steven guy back to have him run that game again. And of course, he was happy to do that. Each time he came over and ran this game, he'd made a couple of tweaks, a couple of changes. I don't think there was any major idea at the time that we would start a company and start a game. It just became this really fun thing that we were happy to do to pass the time. And he kept, because his nature is just to mod games. He mods every game he comes across, just because he likes to experiment and see what can happen. He just kept modding this one, kept making his version of Werewolf more his own until it became its own game. And so eventually, after maybe 2 years or so of this, people just kept asking us, when can I buy this game? When's it coming out? We kept having to say to them, sorry, it's just a thing that we're doing for fun with us. But eventually we got tired of saying no to people. So Steven asked me if I wanted to help him bring this game into the world and something that we can share with everyone. So we're kind of on that journey now for the first time. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said you were calling it Steven's Werewolf. So
yes.
we kind of hit on that. Clearly the game is like Werewolf. So go ahead and talk about how the game plays and how it differs from Werewolf, because it is really different. So just go ahead and talk about that a little bit.
I'll talk about a story I like to tell, which I wasn't there for, which was basically outlines the motivations that he had for wanting to mod Werewolf, which was a little over 4 years ago. Stephen was invited to a friend's werewolf night, and he'd never played any social deductions games before. He really liked the idea of it, of sitting there and being given that social space to lie and deceive and do all that stuff that's normally frowned upon. And he, in his first game, the first role he got was a villager, and he asks, "What does the villager do?" And they're like, "Nothing." And he's like, "Okay, great. All right, I'll work with this. Fine. No ability. I'll manage." And then at the end of the first night, they wake up and they announce, "Stephen, you've been killed." And he's like, "Great, I'm killed. What happens now?" And they're like, "Nothing. Yeah. You have to sit in the next room for 40 minutes while we all finish." And he was like, like he played more games that night and had a good time, but it was like, it's so close, but there's just more that could be done. So when he made his version, it started as two things. One, that players wouldn't be eliminated, so that you can still die in the game, but there's no player elimination. And also that everyone has some role, some power, or knows something, just so that no matter who you are in the game, there's a new challenge every time. And those are kind of where it started from. And from there, it's definitely grown to become its own game. I suppose it would be similar to Werewolf and other social deduction games in the sense that you do have a hidden role. You're trying to lie to people or figure out who's lying. But probably the major difference is that it's not ever possible to confirm a player is evil because everyone's in it for the whole game. Once you get confirmed as an evil player in social deduction, it becomes slightly less social because people stop talking to you. So there is a function by which players can be lied to by the storyteller. If they're made drunk or poisoned in the game, they can get bad information. So because it's never possible to confirm anything fully, it's never possible to confirm that someone's fully evil. And also that you're not in Werewolf, you're trying to stay alive because staying alive is how you stay in the game. But in Blood on the Clocktower, one of the major functions of the game is that you're trading lives for information. There are characters that are even trying to die because they get their information when they get killed by the demon. So you have good players lying about who they are. You have people sacrificing themselves to either save their demon on the evil team or to get information on the good team. And it opens up a whole new strategic mode in what can be offered in these games. Yeah.
So I was doing some research on this, and I saw the video that you posted kind of outlining the gameplay. And I'm interested in the storyteller's book. Yes. And could you go into how that became as big as it is and why it's as big as it is? I'm just curious.
Okay. There's any number of reasons why. Well, firstly, just to clarify, when we kickstart, it probably won't be as big as you currently see on that video.
That was where I was getting at,
we are shrinking it down a bit. It has been an asset. If we take it to a convention or a games night and people who haven't seen it before, people have literally looked at that like it's just huge tome and said, I want to play that. I don't even know what it is and I want to play it. So its first function, I guess, it is a big theatrical fun piece. Secondly, it's you can almost think of it as kind of a DM screen. The role of the storyteller in Blood on the Clocktower is so involved that we actually liken it more to being the DM in Dungeons and Dragons. Like, they're different games, but the level of involvement you have in moderation in terms of selecting the characters that go into the game, the information that players get, choosing how to run your town, when to run votes, you're really crafting an experience for players. And the role of storyteller is so much fun that we have players in our group in Sydney fighting each other over who gets to be storyteller next. And so we've kind of promoting this game that in social deduction, moderator is typically regarded as a bit of a dirty word. But being the storyteller is great fun. But because there's so much information that you have to keep track of, because the game has certain levels of complexity, because the moderator is so involved, this grimoire is a perfect tool for keeping track of all of that. So inside that box, you know where everyone's sitting, what characters they are, what abilities are affecting them, who's dead, who's alive, what's coming up next, what information you're going to give. And there are pieces that signify all of this that you can move around and use at your discretion. probably the final answer for why the box is that big is that we are planning on releasing a number of expansions for this. So there are already 3 full editions of characters that we're going to release with the Kickstarter. So that's probably about 80 or 90 roles to begin with. And there are about 120, 130 others that are being play tested in Sydney right now. So ultimately, we want all 6 or 7 editions of this game to fit into the initial box. It's a bit of space to carry all 200 tokens. Yeah.
I know the theme is horror.
Yes.
And Cthulhu. I saw a Cthulhu character like Shaba. I can't even say the names. I thought it was a
yes.
Yeah, I thought it was a H.P. Lovecraft character. How'd you come up with that theme, or did you have another theme, or is that just something that Steven liked?
Well, there's no deliberate specific connection to any H.P. Lovecraft, Cthulhu. We've been getting some of those comparisons lately because there is a gothic theme. There are demons, and it in some of the later versions, at least, starts blurring the line between different worlds and genres and things. But there's no one real answer to the question of why it has the theme it has. Originally, Stephen was modding Werewolf, and so there were certain placeholder elements that he liked that could replace werewolves, but that's not really the whole story. That would be like saying Star Wars exists and because typewriters exist and Star Wars was written on a typewriter, not to compare ourselves to Star Wars.
Right, yeah.
But the world of Blood on the Clocktower is kind of, in a funny way, it's kind of real. It's serious, it's mysterious, it's somewhat believable, somewhat kooky. It speaks to us at the same time about actual human history and human fantasy without either being too historically accurate or too kind of cartoonishly fantastical. It's gothic, it's cheeky, it's deep. It is. I suppose you could draw that comparison to Lovecraft in that there are demons and a blend of human eras with a kind of deep, dark, gothic center. And it gives us a lot of space and a lot of room to play. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just that one character that had the Lovecraftian name, and I was reading through some of it. Yeah.
One fun detail, that is currently Steven's favorite demon, just because the icon is this gigantic, terrifying mouth.
Right, yeah.
He loves that giant mouth, yeah.
Okay, so going back to the storyteller.
Yes.
Could the storyteller role be done by somebody who's never played the game before, or is this someone who has like experience, expertise playing this game multiple 10s, 20s, 30s of times?
People have been jumping into the storyteller role usually after playing through a couple of times. So the comparison to Dungeons & Dragons does hold up in this case, where we, who as storytellers, the people who've run the game before, can sit down with a new player and they can be playing Blood on the Clocktower, knowing everything they need to know with rules-wise inside of 5 minutes. That part is easy for them. But same way that if you are new to role-playing and you sit down in a game of Dungeons & Dragons, the DM could take you through how to create a character, how to go through the story, how to do fights and explore and role-play and stuff in a short amount of time. But to be the DM, you need to read the rule books and know everything that's happening and do that. We find that at conventions, some people will jump in and start storytelling within 2 or 3 games. Some people just have a knack for it and a grasp of it. And we have done a couple of blind playtests with people jumping into the storyteller role just from the rulebooks, and those have been going fairly well at this point. So there is a higher standard of interaction and entry from the storyteller role, but not 20 or 30 plays worth, so no.
Yeah, I kind of wish I would have played this when you had it at Origins, because Kim, right. She's one of the people who is a part of our board game mechanics family, and my wife played it, and they really dug it, so I kind of wish I would have jumped in there and played it too, because I like some of these games. Like I really like Secret Hitler, and it's one of these similar type of games. Mm-hmm. And I don't know, it'd be nice to have one that has a little more depth, because I like heavy Euro games, and I feel like this one has a little bit more depth than some of the other ones. Yeah,
that question of depth is evident in its replayability, and I say to people, I'm not a fan of the game because I'm producing it. I'm producing it because I'm a fan of it. Right. Whether I was on the team or not, this is still something that I would probably want to play once a fortnight for the rest of my life. With our group in Sydney, strategies emerge. There becomes one dominant way to play. But because everyone goes that way, because it sort of tends to win, people start enacting counter strategies. against the dominant grain. And then, of course, strategies emerge to counter those strategies. So not only is there this level of complexity that makes it replayable just on its own right, but if you spend years getting into it with the same group of people, you go through trends and reactions and responses to each other, and it just makes it just endlessly fun and playable. Like, I have no problem sitting down and doing this for 12 hours in a row and then doing it again a week later. Yeah.
So how long does one session of the game take about?
So one game, depending on the number of players and whether you kill the demon or not. But one game going its maximum length, you're looking probably at about an hour or so for 10 players. Probably the maximum, 15 to 20 players, you'd be looking at 2 or more hours. Usually add about half an hour to any game where there's alcohol involved. And I believe,
yeah, I can see that.
I believe I hold the record for shortest game run where it lasted 90 seconds.
Wow.
There is a character that they have one shot to guess the demon during the day, and if they pick the demon dies. It's the Slayer, and I just gave the good team a really generous setup that let them find the demon pretty quickly, and that game lasted 90 seconds. I don't think it's been topped yet. Yeah, so that's going
awesome.
on the box. 90 seconds to 150 minutes. Yeah,
yeah, you should. That's awesome. So tell me a little bit about when this is going to go into production, if it's going to hit Kickstarter, how it's going to be released, and when you think about that will happen. Okay.
Right now we're looking to hit Kickstarter at about January. This is our first time producing any game. It's both a blessing and a curse that it happens to be this one. It's a blessing because we love it. It's a curse because it's such a large game to produce. Most people first time will go in with like a box of cards that costs, 10 or $15, but we have this giant thing. So we realized that because it started a werewolf variant, if people hear about the game, what they hear a lot of is like, oh, wow, that sounds like a really great version of Werewolf. But it's when people play the game that their eyes glaze over and they go, oh, this is different. I get it now. That we are taking this year to just take it to as many conventions as possible, get it to a bunch of different cities, and just let people play it. We're still producing copies by hand and sending them out to friends of ours and enthusiastic storytellers who want to run the game and are being awesome and find it as much fun as we do. And so after 1 year of that, we're looking to hit our Kickstarter in January and hopefully get it into people's hands before the end of next year. And in the meantime, we're still going to be coordinating our community of storytellers around the world. So there are cities that people can go and play in and jump into games in regular sessions even before it's released. That's the plan at the moment.
So you guys, I know you guys are going to be at Kickstarter, or not Kickstarter. I know you guys are going to be at GenCon. I'm assuming. Because I saw that you made Geek and Sundry's top 12 anticipated games at GenCon.
Yeah.
That's pretty exciting.
That was really cool. That was something that, to be perfectly frank, I didn't know that was going to happen. That wasn't anything that was flagged to me in advance, but we've appeared on their radar, and we're just thrilled to bits. There's been a lot of nice little cheering and excitement about that on the back end amongst the community in Sydney and the people producing the game and all over, really. So we're all props to Geek and Sundry. We love that they noticed us and shouted out about us, and we're really excited to hit GenCon.
Yeah. The nice thing about Geek and Sundry is they have millions of fans, and a lot of the fans that they have aren't even gamers, so that's going to bring a whole new audience to your game potentially, so that's exciting for sure.
Absolutely. One thing we've found with Blood on the Clocktower is that it is a game that people who aren't quote unquote gamers will get into heavily because it is a highly social game, because the reasons I outlined for me getting into gaming, that I just like people and want to find fun things to do with them. Stephen had the same approach getting into gaming. And so between us and the other people we have on the team, we just love people. And so I think that reflects in the kind of game it is, where gamers and non-gamers alike will just come in and socialize and have fun. Yeah.
Well, that's great. We'll definitely keep an eye out on the Kickstarter, and we'll give it a couple shout outs on our page and try to help you out and get it funded as quickly as we can here.
Oh, man, that would be so cool. We would just appreciate that so much. Yeah.
All right. So now that we've gotten all that out of the way, let's tackle some fun questions.
Okay, cool. I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to give you two options. You're going to pick one.
Okay.
And you don't have to give it a lot of thought. Just say whatever you think you need to answer.
Okay.
Okay. So, Australia or Ohio?
Australia.
Good answer. I'd probably pick that too. Flying or driving?
Flying.
Board games or card games?
Board games. Although I am a poker fan, but I will go board games.
Poker is good. Hot dogs or hamburgers?
Oh, hamburgers, 1,000%. I stopped eating hamburgers for a month before coming to the States on this trip because this is the land of hamburgers.
Yeah, there are some excellent hamburgers here. Let's see. All right, this will be the last one.
Okay.
Secret Hitler or Blood on the Clocktower?
It's gonna have to be Blood on the Clocktower. Very sorry.
Yeah, no, that's a good answer. I like to give that to everybody who I interview to see where their loyalties lie.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all I have. Thanks for coming on and talking about your game, and I wish you the best at GenCon. I wish you the best with your Kickstarter, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in America.
No worries. Thanks so much for having me. It's been really fun to come on the podcast and fun talking to you. Thanks for a good time. Yeah.
Super cool, Jason. We are starting to get. I mean, I feel like this is, to me. Man, okay, I'm gonna be like real secretive about this because I don't want people to know this. Like to me, Jason, and I think to you too. I feel like we're just two dudes having a lot of fun making a podcast, and I don't know that I take myself very seriously. We're getting people on the Geek and Sundry top and 12 list to come on our show and do interviews. How cool is that? And I mean, I guess like Vidal Lacerda did an interview too. So
that's true. Yeah, and Jamie Stegmaier. I mean, come on.
But that's pretty cool. I'm really happy to have this guy on there. And you know what? This might be one of those interviews that we look back on in 3-4 years and go, wow, how did we get him our first year? You know, because I think it seems like he's a pretty sharp guy. He's got a lot going on for him. He might be a rising star in the whole industry. So we'll be excited to watch his career, I guess. And that was a cool interview, Jason. Good job.
Yeah, I know Katie and Kim demoed this game, and it was a cool take on social deception, as he calls it, but social deduction, as everyone else calls it. And like, it's like Werewolf, you die, but you don't really die. So more of the same, but with a little different twist. So yeah, and being on Geek and Sundry's list, that always helps game designers make it to the next level, because
for sure
Geek and Sundry have 1 billion followers. So
for sure. Well, they've got the Muggles too, man. The Muggles look at that stuff too. So
that's true.
Not just the board game geeks. So social deduction games next BGMCon, which needs to happen soon. I want to get a chance to get a game of Leaders of Euphoria in. I think that's a fun game. I think you'd enjoy it.
Oh yeah. That's like Good Cop, Bad Cop or something, right?
Basically, with a little rule tweak, but then also being able to pay royalties to Jamie Stegmaier, our favorite dude.
Right. Yeah, and I'll bring Masque of the Red Death because it can play up to 7.
Sweet. Awesome. All right, Jason. Well, hey, I hope everyone had a good con. If you're listening to this afterwards or you're having a good con. But I've been Joel, and this has been fun.
Hey, and I'm Jason.
And we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, see ya.